Some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And I tell you, Peter, on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind up on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Then he sternly ordered his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. The word of our Lord. Praise be to God.
Thank you, Rick, and God bless the reading of the Word this morning. And as we begin today, I want to start by showing you a little video that we put together. It's actually sort of a little gimmick. It's a movie trailer video that documents the trip we took to Amarillo a week ago with the praise team. And so I wanted to show you that. I love a road trip, don't y'all? I love a road trip. I remember when I was in junior high, I aspired to be in the Everett High School Marching Bulldog Band. Some of y'all know that story. And one of the reasons I wanted to go to Everett is because once I got there, they did something the junior high band didn't do. They took a road trip. They took a lot of road trips. I mean, we traveled all over the South in that marching band. I missed more school because of that band than I ever missed at all. But the first road trip we took was in the summer because the band director believed in taking us to band camp. So we went off like 90 miles from home to Tennessee Tech, and we stayed in the dormitories where we could have like, well, I don't know why they call them two-a-days, because we were out there like all day. And so we were practicing. But the band director's idea was, once I get y'all away from home, and I get you away from your favorite TV shows, and I get you away from all your distractions, but his favorite was, and your mother is not coming to band camp with us, okay? So he had you where not even mama could rescue you at band camp. And boy, did we have some fun. I was a little bitty guy. I was about 4 foot and 9 inches tall, and I weighed about 80 pounds if I had a pocket full of change. And some of those big seniors grabbed me by my belt loop one day and hung me up on the coat rack. And I was standing there doing one of these. It was the funniest thing. And a janitor later got me down. I was late to band practice. When the band director asked why I was late, Don, you know I did not tell him because the seniors hung me. I just said, "I fell asleep, sir. I'm sorry." So you don't ever do that. But band camp was great. Got you out away from your comfort zone where he could work with you, see? And so road trips are like that. Some things about the Emmaus walk are like that. People think that Emmaus is a secret society, but it's really not. It's really not a secret society. And they think that things that happen on a walk are secrets, and so there are things you're not supposed to tell any about. And granted, if you don't know the format, some things are surprises. There's no question about it. But whether or not you know the surprise is coming seems to not matter. It's just that kind of a weekend. But in a way, you know, it gets you out away from your comfort zones. I've talked to people who say, "Well, I'm going to go with a friend of mine." I'm telling y'all, you don't go with anybody. You might show up with somebody that you know, but the first thing they do is they separate you. You don't get to stay in the same room together. You don't get to sit at the same table together. And if that makes you uncomfortable on Thursday, on Sunday, you know why they do it. Because now your circle just got bigger. You've got 5 to 7 people around you that you know in a very intimate way. And you can't do that unless you get away from what you do know. You don't learn anything new until you give up what you already have learned and move into, and it's an uncomfortable place, okay? MROP, Men's Rites of Passage, probably does the best job of that. And at Emmaus, they tell you, leave your cell phone. As a sponsor, I always tried to get the cell phone. Let me have it. I'll put it in my glove box. I'll give it to you Sunday. You're not going to need it. But now they suggest you put it in your suitcase. And I've worked walks, and I've seen people cheating and going and looking to see what time it is or checking texts from home. And you know, the idea is to separate yourself from those things. Well, at Men's Rites of Passage, when you come in, you're not a man. You're not a man till you leave. When you come in, you're a boy. If you're a man, no one tells you. Or if you're a full-grown woman, no one tells you what to do with your cell phone. Amen? But if you're a boy, they tell you. So when you come in on Wednesday, you as a boy, and they tell you, make your last phone calls home tonight. Because tomorrow morning, we're going to take your cell phone. And so there I go. I mean, I'm actually out there at 6 in the morning talking to my wife with my finger wet, standing on a hill going, this is the only place I get reception. And as if this isn't bad enough, they're taking my phone. But they don't just take your phone. They take any distraction device. They take your car keys if you drove there. And what you do is you put them in an envelope. And then you seal that envelope up and put your name on it, and that way your stuff will be there when you come back. Some of y'all know that routine, right? You've seen that before. They do it down at the county jail. They put it all in an envelope. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. And so they put all your stuff in an envelope, and then you put it in these 2 baskets in the middle of the floor, and you're wondering, well, you know, what's with the baskets? And then the first thing that happens that morning, and you don't know what to expect yet, someone starts beating a drum. And it's like an Irish funeral or something. And then here come 2 guys in, and they walk in and they pick up those baskets and they look at each other and they hold them up like this. And then they turn around and they hold them up in front of you. And then they turn around and they walk out with them. And I tell you, that don't sound like much. But when they were walking out, all I could think was, there go my car keys. There goes my telephone. And if you think Mama didn't go to band camp with me, Mama wasn't anywhere around men's rites of passage. For the next 5 days, they had me outside my comfort zone. And that morning ritual really made the point. Drove it home. You're disconnected. You are away from everything that makes you comfortable, and you're away from everyone that you have to say the right things to satisfy. You're away from everyone that you have to impress. You're away from everything that you know to be true. You can do anything that you feel is appropriate. It's sort of like the 50-mile rule. You get a preacher 50 miles from home on vacation, he doesn't act like himself anymore. So Jesus took his disciples on a road trip. He took them on a lot of road trips because that's what a rabbi does. A rabbi starts every day with something that's mysterious, and you don't know what to expect today. And if you're the disciple, you're like every day, you're like, what is our rabbi going to do today? Because it's not good enough to take your seat, I'm going to draw on the board, and you're going to learn. No, a rabbi made you learn by experiencing things. And so rabbis like to take people, their disciples, outside their comfort zones. And so Jesus took his disciples on a road trip one day to Caesarea Philippi. Now, here's a few things you need to know about that. It's about a day's walk. So they're going to be walking a little while. They've got time to think and talk on the way. Caesarea Philippi is not Jewish country. It is in the Gentile territory. So you're not among friends. The rabbi is not there except your rabbi. The priests are not there. The temple is not there. You are going into unfamiliar and uncomfortable territory. Now, if it's not complicated enough, at Caesarea Philippi in the time of Jesus, there is a world temple, a center for the worship to the goat god Pan. And there pagans gather from around the world at certain times of the year for the festival to the goat god. And this temple to Pan is built over this cliff. And on the cliff is this giant rock and a deep, deep cleft in the rock that is said to be the place on the earth where spirits from the underworld, the dead, ascend and descend between this life and the next. Are you with me? And the archway over the entrance to this temple reads the gates of Hades, because pagans were convinced that this rock, this cleft, was the opening to Hades, to hell, to the underworld. And remember, these people don't have a dualistic way of looking at this. There's not a place called heaven where everyone has gone who's good and those in Hades, because if we had the gates of Hades today, we'd just go pour concrete in it and seal it up. But they don't think that way. Everyone ends up in Sheol, in Hades, in the other world, in the place of the dead. And so here Jesus takes his disciples to this remote location where they are outside their comfort zones and where they are away from the watchful eye of the temple and the Pharisees and even their parents, where they are left with only themselves and their own experiences to deal with. And I think it's really neat that the first thing he asks them is, who do people say that I am? And you've been reading all through Matthew's gospel that people say that you are a ghost. You are the ghost of John the Baptist or Elijah or Jeremiah. They're saying all kinds of things. And here we are in this location where most people believe that ghosts ascend and descend. And Jesus says, who do you think I am? Am I a ghost? Remember him walking on the water? And they were afraid because they thought he was a ghost. And a few passages earlier, they're thinking he was John the Baptist, who is dead. And so here in this location, he says, am I a ghost or not? Some say you are. Some say you are. Well, who do you say that I am? Now that we're here, where no one is listening, where the Pharisees can't hear you, where the Roman officials can't hear you, where we are here and no one needs to know we're even here. Tell me who you say that I am. And Peter, and I'm telling you again, Peter is us. I'm convinced, I almost wish that I could find out that the whole 12 disciple thing was metaphorical, but I don't believe it is. Don't go tell someone I said that. Because if it was, I know that Peter would be us. Simply put, every time Peter says something, it's what we would say. And Peter speaks up and says, I know who you are. You are the Christ. You're the anointed. You're the one that we've been waiting on and talking about. You are God come to see us, man. That's who you are. You're the Son of God, not Caesar, because Peter's not afraid right now. He's where Caesar can't hear him. You, not Caesar, not Pan, not Mithras. It's you, Jesus. And then Jesus says, way to go, Peter. You paid good attention in Sunday school. You're my key disciple. Well, at least Alan's looking at me like, No, Jesus said to Peter, guess what? You didn't even say that. You had no way to know that. It came from God. Because I'm going to tell you something. All revelation about God comes from God. Now, don't misuse that piece of information. Not every idea you have about God is a revelation about God, okay? So please remember that. We have a lot of ideas about God. And I think what you do is you put them all in there and you let them just sort of sit there and ruminate until the ones that are true have a way of making their way to the surface. And the things that aren't true, God has assured me, will fall away. And I believe that. So not every idea you have about God is true and is God. But every revelation of God comes from God, just like Peter was given a revelation in this place. So there are a few things in this story that I think are really important. One is that I think it's really important that we occasionally get outside our comfort zones. I think it's why church camp works so good. You know, we were talking about people think God is at camp. People think God is at Emmaus. I heard someone say last night at a meeting, he said, can't you just tell God is here? My brother, my sister, I can sense that God is anywhere. I've been in nightclubs where people were not acting what I call godly, but I can assure you, I knew that the Spirit of God was there. I like this thing about, well, they won't let God in school. There's this thing about keep God out of the schools, and I'm like, golly, really? I mean, are we arrogant enough to believe that we could tell God where God can be and not be, or that God isn't already there? How do you tell God not to go to school when God's already there waiting? You see, I think it's important to get away. It's important to get away from the things that distract you. It's important to get away from the things that make you feel comfortable and to get outside your comfort zone. And it's also important to get away from the watchful eye. I got to say the thing that my Sunday school teacher would have approved of. I got to say the thing that would agree with my pastor. I got to say and do the right thing because someone is watching. And if God is calling me to do or say something countercultural, I sure don't want to do that because I could end up in a tight spot at work or with my friends or in the community. See, I think it's important that we not only get outside our comfort zones, but get away from having to have the right answer. Because here is what I truly believe, and Richard has said this, and I've said it to you, your greatest obstacle to your next encounter with God is your last encounter with God. And so we all know Jesus. We're here because we know Jesus. We're part of the church because we know Jesus. And when people ask us, we can tell them about Jesus. We can pull out the whole thing from Romans, and we can tell them how Jesus was a sacrifice that was made on our behalf by God, and that Jesus was divine and the Son of God, and we've got the language down. And once we've got it down, we perfect it until we don't learn anything else. And then that idea not only becomes Jesus, it becomes the Bible, and it becomes God, and it becomes everything. And we even order our lives around it. And it's why we're so stinking violent, because we have made God to be neurotic and anal and violent, and we ourselves are neurotic and anal and violent. It's why we've assigned those characteristics to God. And as soon as we stop doing that, we will see that God's Spirit is not any of those things at all. And so, if we are to learn a new thing about Jesus, we have to be able to take what we already know and move it aside. Not to say that everything we already know isn't true. I didn't say that. But we have to be able to put it aside, get outside our comfort zones, get away from the watchful eye, and then we have to do the most important part, and that is listen for God. Because when real revelation comes, it won't just be a thought that you had. It will be a seed planted by God. And I don't know what it'll do to you. It might just be, oh, wow, God is something I didn't know. And it might be, Lord, you don't really expect me to walk into that office and say that, do you? You don't really expect me to go to work and tell those people this, do you? You don't really want me to stand up in the congregation and say this. I wonder why people continue to choose churches and even walks and reunion groups and encounters and experiences that make them comfortable. If we go to church and something in the church makes us uncomfortable, we typically leave and go somewhere else. If we find things about our denomination that we don't like, we typically find another denomination. If we find things about our political party we don't like, we join the other party. We're so interested in being comfortable. And all that is the false self. False doesn't mean it's not real. All it is just your ego saying the ego needs to be affirmed. And God is saying the Spirit needs to be challenged. Here's the real danger. In affirming our ego, which I think is fine. There's nothing worse in my mind than someone who has no self-esteem and no confidence at all. And so I can put up with a little bit of arrogance in favor of people having some self-esteem and some confidence in doing something. I'd rather see you making mistakes than not doing anything at all. But here's the problem. We have gotten so wrapped up in affirming our egos that we have completely neglected our spiritual lives. The Spirit is diminishing and dying within all of us. And we've been propping it up with symbols and images and rituals for a long time that continue to remind our spirit of what the truth is. But we are not ordering our lives around that truth. Oh, servant of mine, did you forgive your enemies? Well, no, God, I didn't do that because they were bad people. But Jesus saved me with your blood. Oh, servant of mine, did you remember to never resist the one who borrows and to give of yourself to the less fortunate? No, God, I didn't. I gave a few coats to love and care, but Jesus saved me with your blood. What about prayer? Were you faithful in prayer? Yes, Lord, I said thank you every morning. I know, I heard you. But when did you get quiet and listen to what I was saying? Jesus, save me with your blood. You know, if we would learn to walk lives of spiritual disciplines, we might quit bleeding Jesus to death. there is something that God wants from us. Just simple trust. Simple trust. If you were to have a new revelation of God, you're going to need to move aside your last one. And if you're going to do that, you're going to need some help, because no one can do this alone. And unless you're getting your help from somewhere else, I will know when you're not doing your work, because you're supposed to be coming and saying to me, can you help me? Isn't it a beautiful day to be alive? Isn't God wonderful? Isn't God great? Aren't we all on a journey? Huh? Aren't we all on a terribly uncomfortable journey? And don't you just love a road trip? Pray with me.